Greetings metalheads and welcome to No Nonsense Metal Reviews. I'm George and today I have another episode of Heavy Relics for you where I'll be showing off 5 of my latest cassette acquisitions. So this particular little bundle that I've recently acquired a few weeks back, pretty interesting mix of stuff here. This order was placed at Cult Never Dies, a web store that I have purchased a few things from now. You may have seen the review of the Immortal, Diabolical Full Moon Mysticism and Pure Holocaust tapes that I reviewed a little while ago. That was also acquired from Cult Never Dies. If you're not familiar with this web store, I really would recommend checking them out. Certainly if you're here in the UK, shipping rates are really reasonable. I'm not really sure what the policy is with shipping overseas, but they've got tons of really cool stuff and it's very, very reasonably priced. Hence why I bought this little bundle. So this is my second order from the store, in fact. This is a really interesting mix based around black metal, I will say, but some really interesting things. Some real, wildcard choices and also some real reliable picks, some real favourites of mine. So, I'll take you through the first choice. This was a total wildcard. This is Total Self-Hatred from Finland. And this album, I believe, was originally released in about 2011. This is entitled Apocalypse in Your Heart. So this is a 2018 reissue on Osmos Records. It's really cool. You've got a nice proper sticker on the actual shell there. It's a really nice little package. Nice big insert as well. You've got all the lyrics and, you know, the band profile there. You've got a little shot there and the lineup. But a really cool thing, total wildcard, as I say, because I have to admit, prior to actually looking on the web store, I had not heard of Total Self-Hatred. So I checked them out on Spotify, I think it was, and I was really impressed. This is black metal, but it's described as depressive black metal. It's certainly got a very melancholic kind of edge to it. It's very melodic. It's very, very bleak, but it's really good, actually. It's a really good album. I'm really, really impressed with this. I have to say, I wasn't quite expecting it to be quite as good as it is. As I say, it's very depressive. So if you do like your funeral doom or funeral black metal, really dark, depressive black metal, then you're definitely going to like this album. Apocalypse in Your Heart, really solid. At times it reminds me of Dissection. At times it reminds me a little bit of Cradle of Filth. At times it kind of leans towards that real soul-wrenching, heart-wrenching, depressive atmosphere that we get from bands like My Dying Bride. Not the same style of music, but I'm talking about the dark, really deep atmospheres and atmospherics. Really solid stuff. Great musicianship, I must say. I have to say that I can't really fault it at all. You've got some really good guitar work. You've got quite a good vocal performance as well. Just reliable stuff. I would definitely say check this out if you're a fan of Dissection, Cradle of Filth, bands like that. Bands that have a little bit of a darker edge to them, darker side. Total Self-Hatred from Finland. Interesting stuff. Apocalypse in Your Heart. I would definitely check it out. I haven't actually checked out the other 2 albums from this band. They don't have a particularly prolific rate of work, I have to say. But actually, this is a really good album. Really good album. 2011. Solid. So the next album was, again, a bit of a wild card for me because although I was familiar with the name Dodheimsgard, I hadn't actually really listened to them. I checked them out on, I believe it was Spotify, and I was really quite impressed with this. So this album, I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation of it, but it's Kronet till Konge, or Kong, or Konga. Not really sure. For the purpose of this review, I'm just going to call it Kronet. So Kronet is the debut album released in 1995, I believe. And what's really cool is this is a 2020 reissue on Darkness Shall Rise Records. It does say that it was originally released by Malicious Records in 95, but this is a limited one of 500. So it's a cool, rare little article to have. There's the tape, nice and black for some decent black metal. And I would say this is very decent black metal. This is certainly not conventional black metal. We do have a very famous name in the band there. We actually have Fenres of Dark Throne fame on bass and doing some vocals, it looks like. It's only a 3-piece band, but really good. The bass is certainly very, very prominent. Fenres plays his bass like it's a lead guitar. So it's really interesting stuff. I would say that this is definitely black metal, but it's black metal with a serious twist. It's very experimental, it's very alternative, it's very out there. There's a lot of technicalities. It's really good stuff. Do not get me wrong, the drumming is really good and the vocals are absolutely monstrous as well. But it's just a bit bizarre. But it is a really good album. I like the simplicity of that album art as well. This is considered to be a little bit of a sort of a cult legend album, and I can see why. There's a certain attraction to the bleakness. Although it's 1995, so we've already had our Under a Funeral Moon and Transylvanian Hunger by this point. We've had the early material of that second wave of black metal coming out. So this is kind of building on that. It's taking the foundation that was laid by the likes of Dark Throne, or Immortal, or of course the mighty Mayhem, but then they're kind of building on that. They're adding experimentation. This is quite heavy, I would say. This is very abrasive. However, it's got a whole lot of different intricacies there, and what is really cool is that on tape it sounds so raw. It sounds really harsh. It has a very scratchy edge, but in a good way. I'm not saying it sounds crap at all. It sounds very raw, very analog. So Dodheimsgard with Chronet, a good album, very interesting one. A total wild card, as I say. Really wasn't all that familiar with it, or with the band. I'd heard the name because of the association with Fenres, but hadn't given it a chance before. And I will be trying to check out some of their other material as well. I know that over the years they've wildly changed into a very sort of avant-garde, very technical, creative outlet, combining black metal with all sorts of different experimental styles. But that is certainly a solid album if you like good old-fashioned second wave of black metal. So, our third pick is a personal favourite of mine. I am a big fan. If you've been following the channel, no doubt you'll be aware by now. I'm a big fan of the mighty Dimmu Gear, Norwegian kind of symphonic black metal band. This is their third album. This is Enthrone Darkness Triumphant, and it's a lovely album. This was released in 1997. Again, this is a reissue on Darkness Shall Rise Records from 2022. And I believe this is one of 330 tapes. So, again, it's quite a limited run. It's a really cool thing to have. I was glad that I could pick up a copy of this. And I really do enjoy this early period, this early era of Dimmu Gear. Again, we've got a really nice big insert here with the lineup, with the lyrics on the inside as well. It's really the full package, and it's really, really, really cool, I have to say. But this album is absolutely brilliant. If you like that early black metal, then yes, it's definitely going to appease your taste. But we also get a lot of the symphonic elements being thrown in there as well. And it's very melodic at times, and it's very dark. There's lots of dark atmospherics. Take a track like the opening track, Morning Palace. Absolutely brilliant. It's got a melancholic edge, but it's very heavy. It's very heavy. You've got some great riff work. Vocal work is also brilliant. You've got Shagrath on vocals and guitars. You've got quite an interesting lineup. I'm not going to go through the full lineup, but these guys are very talented musicians. It's essentially the message I'm trying to convey there. They're very talented musicians, and the effect is that this stuff is really well constructed, well written, well composed, epic black metal. There's a very epic edge. You have got lots of synths and keys and that kind of edge to it. So this is far less Marduk. This is a little bit more Emperor, shall we say. We've got the keys, we've got the soundscapes and all sorts going on there. Spellbound by the Devil, absolutely brilliant track. Relinquishment of Spirit and Flesh. And on side B, we have Tormentor of Christian Souls, which is a very heavy one. Some killer riffs there. Master of Disharmony, a Succubus in Rapture. Just some brilliant tracks. Absolutely brilliant. So this is a really cool album to have on tape. Really, really glad that I managed to find this one. And it's just a brilliant album. If you're not familiar with Dimmu Gear, this is just as good a place to start as any. I think that this is the strongest album of their early kind of catalogue, of their early years. Although I do love albums like Stormblast. I think that they really improved with time. Enthroned Darkness Triumphant. Absolutely brilliant album. Really cool. That was a reliable pick, to be honest. When I was scanning through that web store, as soon as I saw it, and as soon as I saw that it was a very limited run, I just had to have it. Absolutely. The legendary Dimmu Gear from Norway. So, we've had some pretty consistent black metal there. Now we'll have pre-second wave, kind of, I guess, influenced heavily by the first wave of black metal, but a little bit of a heritage band, in fact. I'm talking about Bulldozer from Italy with their debut album, which was released in 1985, The Day of Wrath. Now this has been reissued very recently by Shadow Kingdom Records, based in the US. A nice little kind of grey, off-white, if you like, cassette shell. This album, I would say, is a guaranteed win for anyone who likes their Celtic Frost, their Venom, but leaning very heavily towards the Motorhead style speed metal edge as well. A really good album. I really enjoy this. I said it's pre-second wave black metal. This is 1985, so really this is kind of the tail end of the explosion of heavy metal. We've already had the likes of Maiden, the likes of Saxon, the likes of Venom, Motorhead, Judas Priest really explode. So no, this isn't anything particularly earth-shattering, but what this is really enjoyable. This is definitely speed metal, although, to be honest, I'm not a big fan of the term speed metal. In my mind, speed metal is the tag that is given to bands which just don't quite comfortably fit into heavy metal or into thrash metal. However, I would say that this is a bit of a mixture of those two, but you've got a strong gravitation towards the Motorhead speed and aggression, and also the kind of blasphemous thrashing nature of Venom as well. Really good album, really enjoyable. It's kind of a short and sweet album, to be honest. It's really good though. Talk about some of those tracks. Cutthroat, brilliant. Insurrection of the Living Damned, The Great Deceiver. The side B is a particularly enjoyable one where you've got Madman and Whiskey Time, which is totally Motorhead tribute stuff. Then we've got Welcome Death and Endless Funeral. All good stuff. As I say, if you like Venom, if you like Motorhead, and if you like Celtic Frost, essentially Bulldozer are a little bit of a hybrid combination of those bands. So they're guaranteed to please. And considering it's 1985, I think this sounds really good. Certainly sounds enjoyable in this nice cassette form. It sounds very original. It sounds very analog and very genuine. So, Bulldozer, The Day of Wrath. Check this album out if you're a fan of those previously mentioned bands, or if you just like the sort of music where you can stick that tape on, or whichever format you're going to get it in, stick it on, grab yourself a beer, and just have a serious headbang along to. Because it's really enjoyable. It's really easygoing stuff. So that brings me to the last article from this Cult Never Dies order. This was a very safe choice. One that I have on CD, just like I have Enthroned Darkness Triumphant, but absolutely couldn't miss it. Couldn't pass this one by. I'm talking about Celtic Frost with their second album, to Megatherion. Absolutely love this album. This is an absolute classic. Originally released by Noise Records in 1985, so same year as Bulldozer. This is such a crucial album to the development of just extreme metal in general, but also, of course, black metal and the second wave of black metal. Absolutely love this. It's got darkness, it's got speed, it's got atmosphere, it's freaking heavy. Tom G. Warrior's guitar work and his vocals are absolutely synonymous with the second wave of black metal. The influence of this band and this album is absolutely enormous. Just cannot overstate how vitally important this album is. Really nice little insert again. And we've got the lineup there. We've got Tom G. Warrior on lead vocals, guitars and effects. We've got Dominic Steiner on bass and effects. And then we also have Reed St. Mark on drums, percussion and effects. So there's the guys. Really, really interesting outfit choices there. I'm not really sure if you can see because it's only a little picture, but really cool. So talk about some of those tracks. I mean, you've got the intro of Innocence and Wrath, straight into The Usurper. Absolutely magnificent stuff. Those killer riffs. So much texture, so much atmosphere and darkness. Jewel Throne, which is freaking heavy. Dawn of Megiddo, brilliant. Got a little bit of a doomy kind of vibe there. Eternal Summer, a great track. The legendary Circle of the Tyrants, which kicks off side B, absolutely classic stuff. One of the best and most brilliant Celtic Frost songs of all time. Just one of the best songs of all time, full stop. Then we've got Beyond the Northern Winds, Fainted Eyes, good track. Tears in a Prophet's Dream. Then we've got the absolutely wonderful Necromantical Screams as well. Absolutely glorious stuff. As I say, cannot overstate how influential and important this album is. And I believe that this is a limited run. Can't quite remember the figures on this one, but it's freaking cool. It's just a really nice thing to have. Absolutely brilliant. So I've got it on CD, as I say, but certainly not going to stop me from blasting this one and upsetting the neighbours with some classic Celtic Frost. So, Celtic Frost with To Megatherion from 1985. So there's my 5 latest heavy Relics purchases with Total Self-Hatred, Apocalypse in Your Heart, Dodheim's Guard with Chronet, something, just a little bit difficult to pronounce. Then we've got the legendary Dimmu Gear with Enthroned, Darkness Triumphant. Absolutely love that. Now acquired that in all 3 main formats, CD, vinyl and cassette. Unintentionally, or not that I really like to try and find all 3 formats of my favourite albums, but just happened to stumble upon a very inexpensive copy of the vinyl, which we will be coming back to very soon on the channel. Celtic Frost with To Megatherion, and of course not forgetting Bulldozer from Italy with The Day of Wrath. All on tape, all very analogue, all very metal. Any thoughts and opinions on any of these particular choices that anyone wants to share? I always welcome input and conversation from like-minded metalheads. Anyone else have these albums on tape? Anyone else a collector? Just can't resist a good heavy bargain? Check out Cult Never Dies. Thank you very much for watching, my friends. Do feel free to like and subscribe as always. Feel free to check back soon as well for plenty more reviews, plenty more recommendations to come. Thank you, my friends. As always, stay safe and stay heavy.